tells me is that he is God and he remains God through the good times and the bad times.
In our opinion poll, we asked people what happiness meant to them, and the results back up the science. The top answer was family and friends. But at number 2, something of a surprise: contentment and inner peace. The remote Himalayan kingdom of Bhutan is the only country in the world which puts gross national happiness at the heart of politics. And so, contentment and inner peace are translated into government policy.
Had we not been bound by this policy, this philosophy of national happiness, I think we would have compromised our culture, our spirituality.
Bhutan could have been richer than it is today. Government ministers have held back development to safeguard inner peace. For instance, the one set of traffic lights they've ever had was on this junction. But people found them frustrating, so they went back to a human being.
Sometimes we wonder as to, when we look to the industrialized world, when you look at the developed world, whether there is, in fact, an advancement in terms of civilization, or whether there has been a de-civilization. Because civilization, I think, has to do with development of the human individual, the mind, the finer aspects of humanity. And I think those are lost.
The path through meditation to tranquility is part of the character and culture of Bhutan, built upon this country's Buddhist traditions. They believe that you can think your way to happiness. But can you? Back in a rather greyer London, I met Mathieu Ricard, a celebrated French scientist who became a Buddhist monk. He claims to have proof that meditation can make us happier.
All right, well, let's do it then. How do I meditate?
Okay, for instance, you might put that coffee cup or a small flower in front of you, and you might choose a spot, like this white spot or red spot, and then just focus your attention on it. If you are well focused, somehow the mind also will become less busy with thoughts in a focused way.
I suppose what's going on in my head is that I'm thinking, it's really not very interesting, that thing I'm looking at. Do you think that you could take a really grumpy person and turn them into a blissfully happy person?
You see, it needs obviously the cooperation of that person.
Yeah.
You can
if they want to be
you can force the body and the speech, but only the mind can decide to change.
It's not just a matter of faith. Mathieu argues it's a matter of fact. And to prove it, he went to a neuroscience lab in America and had his brain scanned as he meditated. How would his brain compare with other people? Would there be any difference?
There was so much difference that they were worried that, why? There must be some artifact in the machine, or maybe when you meditate, you are either smiling blissfully or frowning so much that it sends all these electrical waves on your scalp, and then it messes up the measurements.
But it wasn't a problem with the machine. The results suggested that through meditation, Mathieu had effectively rewired his brain. The fact that a Buddhist monk can train his brain to be happier is in effect the bedrock for a new science, positive psychology. In the same way that traditional psychology takes a depressed person and makes them less depressed, positive psychologists take a happy person and make them even happier.
By using the interventions of positive psychology to increase positive emotion, to increase engagement, to increase meaning, people actually might be physically healthier, they might even live longer, and they might do better in their jobs.
Sounds great, but how does it work? Positive psychology has a few simple rules. Challenge negative thoughts. Play to your strengths. seek out meaning in your life and count your blessings. So, I mean, there will be those who say, come on, people are just, there are grumpy people in the world, there are jolly people in the world, and if you're born grumpy, you're always going to be grumpy.
Right. The best you can do with positive emotion, I think, is you can get people to live at the top of their set range. So I think you've got about 10 to 15% leverage, but you can't take a grouch and make him giggle all the time.
Nevertheless, positive emotion is seen as engine oil for the wheels of happiness. In our so-called happy lab, we tested the claim that it has the power to increase creativity and performance.
Sometimes everything is wrong.
One group was filled with negative emotion.
Now it's time to sing along. Shiny, happy people.
Another group had a dose of positive emotion. And then each group's creativity was challenged.
Here we have a brick, okay? And I would like you to think of what you can do with a brick. Think of as many uses for a brick as you possibly can.
The difference between the two groups was noticeable.
Let's go.
Not only did the sad group come up with some rather unpleasant uses,
Okay.
Drowning kittens in a bag?
Yep.
they also ran out of ideas fairly quickly.
Okay. Okay, time is up then. And I'm going to monitor.
Whereas the group exposed to the happy pictures were brimming with imagination.
Okay.
Bookshelves.
Bookshelves?
Cheese.
Yes. Barbecue?
It's been said.
It's been said. Okay. Time is up. Let's see how many we've got. 47. And would like to have a look what the other group got? They've got 35.
So the next question is, I suppose, that if you can do it for the individual, you can make a person feel more optimistic, happier. Can you pull the same trick for a nation?
Here in Scotland, officials want to give it a try. The ambitious target is to make the nation 15% more optimistic within 10 years.
Optimism is a major component of happiness, and I think it's the part that we can most immediately see is missing in Scottish life and would make a difference for us. I mean, we have got very significant levels of antidepressant use in Scotland. We've got very high levels of suicide.
So enter the happiness professor. Martin Seligman has agreed to take up the challenge to apply his positive psychology on moor and glen.
When you're completely engrossed in what you're doing, as I see about 70% of you are right now. We know that the other 30% of you are having sexual fantasies. Incidentally, we've looked this up.
In some of his books, Martin Seligman talks about America being the land of optimists, because it was optimists that emigrated to America.
You exported your optimism,
yes.
Now you need to import it.
Well, I don't know. I don't think we need to import it. I think we need to learn how to be more optimistic. Because that's one of the messages of this, is you can actually teach pessimists to be more optimistic.
There's the challenge. Scotland.
Scotland.
Can you do it?
Oh, I don't know, but small nations have done great and revolutionary things. Do I think that changing the psychological variables on the positive side of life in a nation like Scotland could have a noticeable effect on the economy and a noticeable effect on health? You bet I do.
A few people have said to me that they find it quite dispiriting working with young people now in specific areas who will say, oh, well, we can't do that because we're deprived.
But maybe they've got a point. Positive emotion is hard to sustain when you're wondering how you're going to make your welfare check last to the end of the week.
You know, you wonder whether it's optimism that these people need, whether it's just decent housing.
A lot of the people out there are going to say, I've got the gas bill to worry about, the kids need feeding. Some American comes along and says, just try these few things and things will be so much better. They're just going to say, real life's not like that.
So your caricature of the people out there who only think about relieving suffering or heating the house or buying a new car. I don't think that's only part of human nature. People also want to have more enjoyment in their life. They want to be completely absorbed in what they do, and they ineluctably want meaning in their life.
But is meaning only found in happiness? Depression is said to have inspired great art. Some argue that without melancholy, there can be no joy. So is happiness all it's cracked up to be?
That argument is a bit saying, when you are enjoying a beautiful mountain scenery with open space and beautiful sky and everything, say, wow, let's go back to the emergency thing in the hospital because there's some intensity there.
Another concern is that optimists are just plain wrong, viewing the world through rose-tinted spectacles that don't reflect reality. We tested the phenomenon known as depressive realism.
Light off, please.
Our volunteers didn't know that we controlled the light, and only some of the time did we match their hand on the switch. So how much control did they think they had?
Light on, please.
It came on by itself.
The optimists overestimated their control. The pessimists are pretty much spot on. There are times, the science suggests, when pessimism is an advantage.
For example, if you are flying in an airplane and this airplane is about to crash, you better pray for a pilot to be a pessimist, because your pilot then is going to be more likely to accurately estimate that plane is about to crash and give you a command to abandon the plane.
They reckon they've got enough pessimists in Scotland already, so people are being invited to attend what are effectively happy classes. Designed by positive psychologists, these sessions get people to identify the areas of their lives which make them unhappy.
So what we want to know is we want to know where you are now.
Then they're taught how to challenge those assumptions and boost their self-esteem.
Sports and leisure.
Quite low as well.
Relationships, they're all right. Career, non-existent. I'll do something about that soon as.
A few weeks in, and it seems to be working.
Just life in general has got a lot better. All family members are actually happier than what they probably were.
I'm happy, I'm feeling glad.
Life is a lot brighter now, and people that haven't seen me for a long time, like, my God, you look really, really well. How are you? What have you been doing? And I know it's the change inside. It's come out now.
I'm useless, but not for long. The future is coming.
Positive psychology is more than just squashing negative thoughts, though. It's also about magnifying positive ones. Professor Seligman suggested I attend a Ceilidh to try and boost a part of happiness they call flow.
Flow is when time stops for you, when you're one with the music, when you're completely focused on what you're doing. And so one of the main aims in positive psychology is to do interventions which increase the amount of flow, the amount of absorption that people have in life.
The positive psychologists are not only interested in individual success, they want governments to buy into their ideas. The appliance of happy science.
It might turn out to be good politics to ask, are there government programs or educational programs or health programs which actually make people happier?
Where Scotland leads, perhaps other nations will follow. Politicians around the world are starting to invest in the idea that it really is possible for governments to take their citizens to happiness and beyond. Next week, why we should take more holidays, stop commuting, and tax the rich. We expose the big lie of consumerism. Money doesn't make us happy. There's more about happiness on our website,